Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 12th episode of the Daily Attorney podcast, where we talk to women all over the United States who are quite amazing at what they do inside and outside of the legal profession. Our guest today is the founder and managing attorney of the Griffin firm. She is a business and estate planning attorney licensed in Massachusetts, Maryland, and District of Columbia. Please welcome Miss Aimee Griffin. Ms. Griffin was recognized by the United States Small Business Administration as a Massachusetts and New England Small Business Champion. She has earned an LLM degree in elder law and estate planning. She is a monthly contributor to the Washington Informer newspaper, and she strongly believes what I believe in. When we know better, we do better. Miss Aimee, thank you so much for being here with us today. I know our schedule's a little crazy, so I always thank my guests because as attorneys, boy, I know what's on our plate.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's my privilege.
Oh, no problem. So I love, the intro because it always gives me a chance to kind of highlight the wonderful things that, my guests are doing. And, one of those things is, business and estate planning. I do estate planning work, but, business, I think, is so many things. Like, it encompasses so many things, and you can have small businesses, you can have huge businesses, you can have Goliaths, like Amazon and other companies like that. So how did you, get into these areas?
Well, the interesting thing is that I didn't go to law school till I was 40, right? So let me
Okay.
share with that. I from Massachusetts, and so I was working for a good government job overseeing contracting and procurement for a state agency, and realized because as a daughter of civil rights activists that Black folks weren't having access. And it wasn't that anybody in the back of the room was saying no, 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 but we realized that you don't know the rules, you can't win the game. So at 40, I went to law school so that I could learn the rules. Came out and created the New England Black Chamber of Commerce. I ran an entrepreneurship center for the law school in addition. So I was working with businesses, and then we were growing them. We were creating capacity and profitability. And then a business owner died, and then another one died. And there was no plan. There was no succession. And what happened was the wealth that we were building was lost. And so that's when I went back and got my LLM in estate planning and elder law, because okay, we gotta figure this out. We can't be creating this wealth that's not passed on through the generation. Part of my motivation was in bridging that racial wealth gap. So how do we strategically do that? And so that's why I got into the stuff that I got into. Created the U.S. Black Chambers, and the Association of Black Estate Planning Professionals, because we got to bridge that racial wealth gap, and we can't do it if we don't all work together.
Oh, I love it. I literally have goosebumps right now. So many golden nuggets. The first one being 40 at law school. I thought I felt out of place. I don't even remember. I was in law school. I think I started at 26, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm the oldest person here. It was not fun in my mind, right? But realistically, no one cares. But you've had a lot of life experience at that time. So please walk us through that. Like, how did you feel walking into, a room full of 20-something-year-olds, and in some cases, teenagers, who are well advanced?
Absolutely. But I think the greatest part of doing it at 40 is because I knew why I was doing it. I didn't have that great competitive spirit of, oh, I've got to knock so-and-so out and do better than them. I've got to do, and my purpose was for community development. So I knew that, and that's who I was as a person. So it wasn't the matter of my character being challenged, but it was just being strengthened, knowing that the purpose was so that I could balance my input and my opportunity to serve my community. And that's what I've been able to do. And so also I had the reality of having these two little ones who at home that determined, okay, no, you can't be crazy because you got two little ones that really are the priority.
And I love that. How old were your children when you started law school?
So I can tell you when I graduated, my daughter was 17 and my son was 14. So
Okay.
So subtract 4 from that because I did it in the evening.
Yeah, okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. I started as a day student, and I was like, yeah, this is too much. So I went as a night student and, I kind of just went at my own pace. And like you, I did 4 years and I felt much better about four than I did three. I can only imagine, was law school kind of like a shift for you based on, what you know and how you learn?
And that's one of the things I say is the greatest thing about law school, even though that first year I thought, this is stupid. Why would anyone do this? But I
Yeah.
honestly believe that it compels you to learn to think critically. It requires that
Mhm.
of you to be successful. It wasn't an easy row to hoe at all, but I am so glad that I did it. And the interesting thing is, as I hated that first year, my daughter, who's also an attorney, she loved the first year. She said to me after that first semester, she said, Mom, even if I flunk out of law school, I have learned so much. This is great. She didn't flunk, of course, and she's an attorney, but it was great seeing it through her eyes, but knowing that the power is knowing the rules, knowing how to understand the rules and apply them is an amazing opportunity. And that's what I really wanted for our community. It was my role was in my mind's eye was that I was going to be able to provide for our community access to resources. It was like I really didn't intend to be a conventional traditional attorney at the time. I just wanted to be sort of a conduit so that my community would have access to the information and the resources that are available through the law.
And there are a lot of them, and unfortunately, many people don't know that, they're not aware. And in I don't know if this is your experience, but in our experience, when I was practicing family law, you I remember hearing a statistic that about 85% of family law client litigants are not even, they have no idea what's going on. They're not represented,
Right.
which is a pretty big deal, so bridging the gap, bridging that wealth gap is huge, especially among members of the brown community, and access to resources. I am big on resources. I feel like if we have the right connections, if we have the right people around us, 100%, we can get from 0 to 60. Speaking of which, I just realized I have Esquire twice on here. How do I fix this?
I can't help you.
No, not you. I'm talking to myself. Camille, if you can fix it for me, I'm talking to my producer. If you can fix it for me, that'd be nice. Most likely I added that, but it's fine. Esquire, Esquire. Technically, I'm an Esquire twice because I have an LLM just like you.
There you go.
So
That's right.
awesome segue. Let's talk about that. Because I have an LLM in taxation. Thank you, Camille. Um, My friend Tanae just posted. She's also an attorney. She just opened her own law firm. She said, I was going to tell you after this. You got to love him. Thank you, Nay. So with that said, let's segue over to your LLM in elder law and estate planning. I have an LLM in taxation. What made you decide, instead of taxation, to go with the elder law and estate planning versus all three of them together?
Well, for me, it was focused on my love, irrespective of the fact that I had 6 tax courses in law school. 6. Yes, that's right. Foolishness at its height. But I needed to have the intricacies of strategic planning for passing on the assets, right? I
Mhm.
figured I could get the tax information included somehow, but it is the strategy around it. I came from it as an entrepreneur, right? Working with entrepreneurs, and so it's like, how do we strategically plan? What I know is that it's so often people know the basics of estate planning, and we get those attorneys who do estate planning right. It's just like, okay, I do family law, general practice, divorce. Criminal law, I do corporate, I do this, and estate planning. But I wanted to make sure that I had all of the intricacies, and we know the nuances that we can support truly the asset protection and planning. We know that we lose so much of our assets as a Black community because of the lack of estate planning. And so if we can't do the nuance part, of course, if we don't have the details, we don't know how to do the complicated stuff, we can't expect folks to be able to serve the people in our community.
I love, love, love that you said that. Because I had kind of a, come to Jesus moment when I was doing family law, estates and trust, and taxation. What I've noticed is family law kind of pulled me towards just that area, right? And what would happen is when I did do the complicated estate plans, I felt like a student all over again. And
Mhm.
that's, I'm a student for life, right? Because we're attorneys and we're humans. So we're students for life. But you don't want to be a student when your client is paying you $6,000 for a revocable trust, right?
Exactly.
You want to know your stuff. So I had to make a conscious decision to say, listen, as much as I love doing X, my heart is on Y, and my heart is trust and estates, like you stated. And I find that now that I can focus on that, there's so many nuances that you don't see when you're just preparing a simple will, right? And
That's right. You need to have the energy to see that. It's like there are so many things that I have this conversation with folks that they do the do-it-yourselfers or the online stuff. And it's like there's so much that is lost with that because you don't know what to ask for. You don't have the questions. You don't have someone who's listening to you. Even if we talk to ourselves, I say that doing it yourself, you don't have anybody who's giving you positive feedback. So it's like as we talk to ourselves in a conversation, we hear the opportunities that are presented, and you're not going to get that when you have that online legal Zoom or where you're just pulling down documents. It just doesn't exist. You need to
no,
have someone who's focused on this. It's like we have so many signature things that we do as we think and we're compelled. Because if you do this every day for years, you know how to think and look at. We also, I say people think we're professional pessimists, so we see when the things are going to go bad ahead of time, and so we can help plan for it. One of the things that our practice, we have 6 attorneys in our practice. We're an all Black women firm, and we have
love
six
it.
attorneys. And we all have different sort of focus areas that we are able to strengthen one another on. But again, our target area, we still are just an estate planning firm. So we are able to focus on, okay, so when we're talking about the new elective chair in Maryland, we go to her. When we talk about special needs trust, this is where we go to. This is where we talked about, business and succession planning. But it is that the capacity to have even that conversation amongst each other when we say, okay, we see this is going to go down a bad way, right?
And you know what's great about having that is everyone, and I had that too with the family law. Everyone there practice family law. So if you want to complicate a situation, you go to this person. If you want a medium, you go to that person. So it's a wonderful thing, especially to have individuals who are attorneys in your own circle that you can talk to and kind of run theories with, right? Tanae says it takes a village. Yes, it does. That does
Absolutely.
not apply to just child rearing, right? It applies to your success as an attorney, as an individual, in anything that you do. I listen to a lot of Eric Thomas, and he says, no man or woman is an island. When you're in your teenage years or when you first start law school or anything like that, you're not thinking about that. But when you have boots on the ground, you realize, oh, I can't do this by myself. I have to have someone as a sounding board or even a mentor. Mentors are huge. And I'm sure, you had mentors also, but let's circle back to the fact that you talk about do it yourself. Um, i i have a love-hate relationship with that because I'd rather someone be protected than not.
Mhm.
But the other part of me is like, if you're going to be protected, I need you to do it right. So even if you do it yourself and you come to me and I look it over and I make edits, I would rather that than to have, I have a client now where mom created the will, but it was never signed.
Yes.
Can't do
We've
anything
had
with
mom create the will and it's signed in the wrong place.
it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I've never had
Yes.
that.
Yes, we've had. I mean, so it's like I say, lawyers, we can tell all the horror stories of things that can go wrong without even making anything up because it is really, it's a reality. We've had all of those stories, and
We really, really have. I've even had one where beneficiary forms are huge. They're huge. And they're huge as, especially in divorces, because people
Mm.
get divorced and they change everything and they forget the beneficiary forms and they pass away. We open estates and we think this money is coming into the estate. No, it's going to the ex-spouse, you know? And realistically, what do you tell your clients, in situations like that? It's just it's really, really tough. So it's amazing to have people like you, who have bridged that gap and made that connection between, business succession planning, and estate planning at the same time, because it is very important. It just is. Now, as far as the attorneys in your office, is your daughter one?
She is not. She
Oh,
is
she's
not.
not. What kind of law does she practice?
Complex litigation.
Oh gosh. Okay. So she likes a good fight.
I think that when she graduated from law school, she went to Rutgers, and it was it was hands are a big law. But I think that as you grow up, and I mean that for any 30-something-year-old, you start to realize what's really important, right? And you get to decide where you want to. That when going to law school at 40, I went in knowing what I wanted to do. And so, but I say the great thing about law school, about a legal career, is it's so vast. There are so
Mhm.
many things that you can do. And so I think that it's awesome that she gets to explore the different opportunities that law offers. Even if it's not in the practice of the law, as you say, that we have actually
Yeah.
the distressing part about it is the number of Black women who leave the field of law in total because of
It's high.
the kind
Yeah.
of experience.
It's a high amount, especially those that go into corporate law. They
Big law.
realize there's a huge disconnect. Unfortunately, a lack of diversity. Having diversity is key. You need other people who don't think like you to help you grow. You know,
And
go
and
ahead.
one of the things about that is that you also need to feel comfortable in your space and welcomed and appreciated. And I don't know that, I mean, when you're the only one of 56 people you have to justify often who you are and why you are, or feel, appreciated. And when you're a lawyer, you have choices. You don't
Yeah.
have to experience that. And so that's why people can choose to leave that area. And because typically lawyers are smart people, and we are able to make decisions about our life choices that I don't need to suffer every day. I don't have to feel unappreciated. I can do that. And so people can leave, and people do leave the field.
Yeah. They definitely do. And, in some cases they're, high billable requirements. Some are attainable, some are not. Just many, many things. I think we can have a whole show on, ways in which the legal field can actually change, for the better, to support individuals, to support their mental health, to support diversity, to just support a life, I don't want to say a work-life balance, but just a balance,
Healthy
right?
life, just a healthy life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now, as far as 3 licenses, I actually thought about the DC license, but I don't want to drive that far. So
Where are you
especially not
based?
Massachusetts.
So I started in Massachusetts. That's where I was living. That's where I went to law school. So
Mhm.
I didn't have an expectation that I was going to leave Massachusetts, actually. And however, general counsel position I was courted for in DC, and that's what got me here. And I say God delivered me to
Okay.
DC, because I was actually, at the time, I had the New England Black Chamber of Commerce, but then also I was about active in the creation of what is now the U.S. Black Chambers. And so when my furniture was moved here, it was the day of our first event of the U.S. Black Chambers. And
That is
so,
such an accomplishment. It really, really is, to have, to create something so monumental. But not only that, to have, SBA recognition.
it was truly an honor. And the reality is I am blessed to do the work that I get to do. Right. and I don't take lightly the opportunities or the experiences. It's not always easy, but I always feel like God opens your eyes to see where need is experienced, and then it's our opportunity to go and serve.
And there is a lot of need. It definitely is. As far as your writing accolades, what made you decide to write for the Washington Informer newspaper?
What we know is that our people perish for lack of knowledge, right? And if I can just write a seed each month to plant a seed, to encourage people to think and do differently, right? When we know better, we do better. And if you could just take it as bite-sized messages. There was one time that I had this client who apparently had like collected and ripped out all of my articles, or he had like a whole bunch of them all around his apartment when he had passed away. His son told me, but and he was like 90 something before he decided to get his estate plan done, right?
Wow.
But it is, again, if I can plant a seed to encourage people to think differently. And I say all the time, you may not come to the Griffin firm, which is okay. Just get it done. We want to build strong communities, one family at a time.
Do you get individuals that say, I don't have anything?
I get so many individuals. And I say, you have a life. Let's start there. And that's something we need to be protective of and thoughtful about. It is, if we start knowing that, and I want people to move away from the survival mentality to the thriving mentality, to think about where we are, where we want to be, right?
Love it. And another thing people don't think about is, even though you don't have anything right now, in the event you happen to inherit something after death, if you have no children, right, there's a pecking order in which your estate gets distributed. If you have no spouse, it's the same way. So even if you had children, and you have that one child whom you haven't heard from in a really long time, right? That is strange child or a strange spouse. I had someone call me the other day and said, well, I've been married to my wife for X number of years, but we're not together and we haven't been for X number of years. I said, okay, do you know about the augmented estate? Because he wanted to create a trust. I said, okay, that's fine. Let me tell you these other laws that will severely impact you.
That's right. That's right. And I always talk about, I love, one thing about that's great about being Black is that we don't need to be bogged down with the law.
No.
I don't need to worry about getting a license. I don't need to worry about getting divorced. I can adopt children without adopting them. And so I do enjoy the love that we share. However, that blended family is a thing. I had a daughter who, it actually broke my heart yesterday. Had a young lady call and said, I'm trying to understand my rights. My mom died in January. My dad died in February. I found out my dad is not really my dad. Oh, no. And so, and her, the sister, the true biological daughter of the father, said, you get nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if there's nothing in place. Because everything from mom, that is.
As the tears rolled, my tears rolled, and it was just, it was painful, but the reality is, and she said, he kept saying, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done, but didn't get it done. 30% of Black people have an estate plan, only 30%. And so much of it's lost because we don't do that.
We don't. And especially if you come from the Caribbean, where I'm from, I think it's like 0%. Right. Because I remember when my grandma passed, it was, money under a mattress situation. You can't do that.
And then it's the first person who finds it, right? Right. Or we add people's names to our bank accounts, or we add them to our deed. And then I'll never forget, I had one family come to meet with me, and she said, the will said, my bank account with Sheila goes to these 3 kids, and my bank account with Janice goes to these 3 kids. The bank account, Sheila and Janice got the bank accounts. Those other kids got
They
nothing.
don't get it. They don't understand that. Whenever someone comes to me and they want to change a deed, I always make sure that they would make the same decision that they would in an estate plan that they would do, in the deed.
Exactly.
And the other issue with that, which is why I don't really like doing the joint deeds or life estate deeds, is you don't get that stepped up basis. That's
Yes.
the other problem that I have. So you end up inheriting something that's great, but you just don't get that tax benefit that you would otherwise have gotten if it had just gone through the estate,
And that's what we have that conversation about, like when is it the most appropriate? And it's typically when there's Medicaid planning, but
Yes.
that we make, then it's worth it to not get your step up in tax basis, but being thoughtful about how do we strategically plan, and then giving people the option of understanding, okay, this is what's going to happen. Right? Let's be real clear. This is going to happen.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Now, how do you, and I'm glad you brought up that point. How do you deal with the rhetoric around, and I'm seeing this like increased need for revocable trust. It's become a trendy term now, right? How do you deal with that rhetoric around the fact that, oh, probate is bad?
So we say probate is bad when it's bad. Right. And what is the cost? So we go through, and with each person, we do the education on what would happen if probate and what would happen without.
Okay. I love that. I'm big on education. I love educating my clients because I don't want them to. The one thing I don't like, which is why I have so many meetings built into my estate planning process, is I never want a client to walk away to say that he or she signed something that they don't understand.
Yes.
I need them to understand every single provision, how it affects you and why it's there. And if it's not there, it doesn't apply to you, we're taking it out, unless it's statutorily mandatory. What is something that you've implemented in your business that you are most proud of?
One of the things I'm most proud of, one is that we have this team approach, and it's because as we discussed, I started at 40, so the expectation is that I will outlive. I mean, I won't outlive a lot of the people who come to us, and so we create this team approach so that you work with multiple people in our firm, so that you have a relationship with multiple folks. And so I started that from the very beginning with or very shortly after the beginning, so that we don't have this total dependence on me. One of the things I see too often is, again, I'm planning my exit strategy. I'm planning that beginning with the end in mind, that not knowing that when I will be here or when I will leave here, but it's that you will still be served by the firm, and in a way that there's not a gap, that there's not a loss. And so that's one of the things that I'm really proud of.
You mean you don't want to be 90 on your deathbed practicing law?
Not only do I not want to be 90 on my deathbed practicing law, and we've seen it, right? We've seen in court when you have that other opposing counsel where it's like, well, where did I do that? But it is, I want to be able to go on vacation and not have to worry about the fact that that I'm not there to sign something, right? But that somebody who knows this case is going to be right there to go know each and every person. So that's one of the things.
I am so glad I talked to you because I have been so on the fence. I actually talked to my business coach about this. We have not been taking appointments because I am the only attorney. And I've been dragging my feet in hiring an associate. I know. So we've been, I don't know, probably 2 months now, not taking any additional appointments. So yeah, because we've just been swamped, and I just don't want to create that.
You want to be able to serve adequately.
I do. And I want to be able to teach others, to do it how I do it. Because one thing, like you said, when I'm not there, emails are not getting sent out, bills are not getting paid, documents are not getting finalized because I need to be there because I'm in court. So that, I'm so glad I spoke to you on that. You have given me the gumption to go out.
To be able to go on vacation, right? And not feel guilty about doing it.
Right. I was in Aruba in December, and I remember I was emailing Camille, I was emailing Jaika, and I'm just like, she's laughing because she knows it's true. And my mom was sitting there like, are you on vacation? I was like, yeah, just one more email, because you just feel that sense of urgency and that
Right.
loyalty to your clients, and I love my clients, but at the same time, I can't serve them if I'm not my best self. You just can't.
That's right. No, that's absolutely right. And self-care, irrespective of anything else, self-care is the best care, right?
Yes,
So put the
it really
oxygen
is.
mask on yourself first before you can serve anybody else.
I know, and I'm the type to run up and down the airplane and put it on other people before I put it on myself. That's one thing I'm working on. So, Ms. Griffin, how can clients best get in contact with you if they want to reach out, to get educated or just have a sit down with you?
Certainly, our the easy website is yourestateplanningattorney.com.
I love it.
So that makes it easy, right? So
If you
you
put
can
any of those words in Google, it's going directly to you. I love it. What is your firm's phone number? And
Our phone number is 855-574-8481.
got it, got it. And I hope you can't hear in the background. I'm actually filming from home today, and my son is playing his video games because those never
Excellent.
go out of style. Um, they never go out of style. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and Aimee, thank you so much for being my guest. You guys heard it. She is just a maverick. I'm still stuck on 40 in law school because I remember law school, and to make that shift, you go from being a straight A student, at least in my experience, to not knowing what, re ipsa loquitur is. You're like, is that even English? It's just mind boggling. So thank you for that. And again, I really want to raise this. You're all about, bridging that gap between racial
Mhm.
wealth and, brown people, access to resources, serving, and definitely thriving. Um, I, you know, we as the brown community, we appreciate everything that you are doing, and just please, please, please keep doing it. You have given me inspiration to take things a little bit further than what I've been doing.
And there you go.
That's why I always love sitting down and talking to people. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you want to reach out to us and if you have any questions, please catch the St. Yves Law Firm or the Daily Attorney podcast episodes on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and even TikTok. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 12 of the Daily Attorney podcast.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It took me long enough, but I said, you know what, world, you're going to see me. And, we're just having too much fun on the show. Definitely, this is a platform that we use to educate people on, attorneys such as yourself, especially for little brown girls out there to realize that there's a lot more of us than they think
That's
there
right.
are. Yes. So thank you again for your contribution to the Small Business Administration and to all the, other organizations that you work with. And thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, everyone. My name is Marie Yves, Nadine Jean Baptiste. I'm owner and CEO of the St. Yves Law Firm located in Towson.